Tyler Vennett, what's going on? Just got done eating some buffalo chicken pizza from TJ's and Sebastian. It was phenomenal. Sweating a little bit right now, but you've got a bogging down underload, a 2002 Suzuki Outboard bogging down underload. Need help to know what my next step to fix is. Now, anytime you have an engine that is bogging down under load, the first thing you need to do is make sure that it isn't fuel. Like, obviously, you want to do preliminary checks, check your spark plug, stuff like that, do a drop test. Just sit there with the engine running and unplug spark plugs or disconnect fuel injectors. I don't know, how big your engine is, what it is. All I know is it's from 2002. Not a lot of information there. Don't have a horsepower or anything like that. But doing a drop test and making sure that every single one of your cylinders is firing, that's like the first thing. But after that, like doing preliminary tests. If you haven't changed your water separator or done a service in like 4 or 5 years, I mean, those things, we're bypassing that. I'm assuming that you service the engine pretty regularly. But first thing you want to do is figure out, is it a fuel issue? Because a lot of times, if you've got an engine that will say run on the hose or it'll just sit here and run, but then when you take it out and put it under load and it just dies out on you, that's usually fuel related. So the first thing that I would do is go ahead over here, and this right here is the fuel tank troubleshooting. This is a fuel problem. I would put a piece of clear hose just like on this right here. I would take that clear hose, put it right there on the engine, and I would start and run the engine to make sure that the engine is getting proper fuel from the boat. Because if it's not getting proper fuel, then, you don't want to go tearing apart your engine, doing VSTs and injectors and all these other tests when you're not even getting fuel in the engine. If you see air bubbles like this in the engine, then that means that you've got an air leak somewhere, and your engine will sit there and run because it's got, a little bit of fuel. But then whenever you try and put the handle down, you are consuming all the fuel, and it's getting aerated fuel, which means it's not getting the correct volume of fuel in order to supply the fuel at wide open throttle. So that's kind of the thing that you want to do, is make sure that it's not fuel, and isolate, is it the boat or is it the engine? Because most likely it's one of the two. It's more likely that it's one of those two than it is some kind of an electrical issue. Again, given that you've done like a drop test and you're not using, 30-year-old 500-hour plugs in the engine that, are misfiring at wide open throttle, because that's always a potential. But fuel's more common. 70% of the time it's going to be fuel related. That's where I would start. Separate boat, engine. And then if it is not the boat and it is the engine, then you're going to want to check your fuel pressure, which is that's something that you would do. Like when you do your drop test, just put a fuel tester on there, see what your fuel pressure is. Because if you ain't got fuel pressure, then, you can go that route. But generally, if you could start running the engine and it's just bogging down under load, then you've probably got fuel pressure. That's just kind of a, assumption that I'm going under on that one. Other than that, you're going to, go and start inspecting your fuel system, your injectors, VST, fuel pump, all that stuff. That's kind of where I would go with it. And, kind of need to tell me what else you got other than that. Go do some of those tests, come back, let me know what you got, and then hopefully that will help you get into the right direction.